You and them making another Last of Us 2 again. Do you want another version of The Last of Us 2?
What are they going to call it? Last of Us Re-2?
I don't know.
Like redo?
The re-2ing. Yeah, The Last of Us 2, a PlayStation 5 version, was leaked. I think it was last year that composer Gustavo Santaolalla mentioned during an interview that there was a new version of the game that he said the players can come up to him and request songs. Where you meet him in the opening area of The Last of Us 2. But in that version, he just sat there, he played his guitar, had a little dog, that was it. Him mentioning that there was going to be a new feature in some version of The Last of Us 2 made a lot of people think there would be a PlayStation 5 version. That's now popped up over on the actual PlayStation database itself. It was spotted by PlayStation Size over on Twitter and confirmed by Insider Gaming themselves. They said they verified it using their own sources. There is no actual word on the game file size itself or what the hell this thing is, and we're going to speculate a little bit. And we'll get into some other gaming news and stuff as well. But thoughts on another version of The Last of Us 2, mate? 3 years ago. Not even 3 years old.
Did it get a PS5 upgrade at any point? Like for an actual kind of console leap thing? Or
So right now, there's a version of The Last of Us 2. Obviously, it's a PlayStation 4 version, but there is a PS5 patch for it. So it runs 1440p resolution, and it does run at 60 FPS. So it's one of those things where there's not that much more you can do with it. Like, I guess you make it 4K res, and maybe you give it new trophies or something. I just hope they don't charge for it. I'm curious what you do with it. The Last of Us TV show, season 2 is going to be next year. The Last of Us is peak again, I guess.
I mean, they did it with Ghost of Tsushima.
So that's the thing, right?
Yeah.
I wrote down Sony's varying approaches to this over the last few years, where they try to do the director's cut versions of games. Now, this has happened twice before with Death Stranding and Ghost of Tsushima, and they had different price tags attached to them. But the proviso there was that the original creatives would go back and do something else that would make it worthy of a director's cut. In Death Stranding's case, it didn't overhaul the game, but added a lot to it. There's a lot more content there, a lot more things you can unlock, some story stuff in there, and a Metal Gear Solid, teasing thing that was in there. They charged $10/£10 for that, which is nice enough. Like, I guess you're going to justify the extra content. Ghost of Tsushima was mainly a story-based DLC that was all about Jin Sakai's dad, but the upgrade there was actually $25 to $30. But it was a bit mired in you're replacing the entire game with this new version, which the director's cut is the PS5 version, etc. But either way, they've tried this before. They've tried to add a little price point on to try and justify, the upgrade. And so maybe we're getting the Last of Us 2 director's cut. I feel like that would have leaked though, as opposed to just a new version. But I mean, what do you want from it?
I mean, we've not had any talk of there being any DLC for the Last of Us Part 2.
No.
Like if there was going to be, it would have come out by now.
So.
It's interesting. I mean, if it's only marginal graphical fidelity improvements, then charging for that kind of seems a little bit
It's a bit
weird.
hinky.
But again, Marvel Spider-Man Remastered for the PS5, that was another thing that was a price point thing that you didn't just get the normal upgrade for. So all signs are pointing towards this being a paid thing, which, is kind of not great.
I'll tell you what's really interesting in regards to The Last of Us, and we talked about this loads. I know it's a big old talking point, but obviously the franchise is 10 years old now. I never ever thought it would get this far. Not in terms of the longevity of the quality of the original. 10 years, but I never thought that we would get a Last of Us 2. I never thought there'd be a TV show. I never thought that The Last of Us Factions multiplayer would be a separate thing going forward. I still don't see it, and I'm talking entirely personally. I don't think it doesn't feel like a bigger, wider franchise, something that is worth picking the threads at and keeping doing more of it. However, I'm clearly wrong because the TV show is absolutely massive. But I think that's what's interesting about it. At some point, it feels like it replaced The Walking Dead as the go-to
I was gonna say,
zombie
it's
thing.
weird that this thing has persisted so long because, like I said, the zombie craze to me kind of really died out with the peak of it was Negan on The Walking Dead,
Yes.
and then the whole baseball bat thing,
Totally.
and then afterwards I feel like that obsession dropped off a cliff, and then The Last of Us kind of the remnants of that. So yeah, it is weird that this thing is persisting, but obviously it's kind of like a benchmark for storytelling on the PlayStation. Naughty Dog are this amazing developer, so it is weird that it's persisted this way. And obviously we had all the other stuff the other month about the Last of Us 2 multiplayer thing, kind of all the standalone multiplayer thing, kind
It's
of
on ice, but then
and
it's
not
not.
being on ice, and yeah, it's weird that now that you say it, it is weird that this has become a franchise because the first game works so well as a standalone kind of just example of Naughty Dog storytelling prowess. Obviously, The Last of Us 2 is really great as well, but it's just, it is weird. It is weird.
It's a weird thing watching it unfold across the last 10 years. And like I said, and I could be way off, but I feel like people who love The Walking Dead or just love zombie fiction in general, that mass audience has gone across onto The Last of Us, especially because of the TV show. And The Walking Dead itself has obviously been quite mishandled. Then when it comes to game releases, Walking Dead Destinies is out, but I don't see anyone talking about that. And that deliberately plays on the early seasons of The Walking Dead, which are meant to be or they were the biggest deal when it came to the story and the reception of that franchise. But yeah, it's one of those things where we'll see what version we get. The fact that it's listed on the PlayStation server, the fact that the database itself, the thing that stores the trophies, the patches, etc., implies that it's imminent, implies that maybe it'll release during this recording. I have no idea. But that also could go in our favor as consumers because they're not making a big deal of it, and it is just a free upgrade with a resolution boost or something. Best case scenario, at least I would say, is director's cut stuff. Maybe you do some extra levels, give us some more Joel and Ellie stuff, or something like that. I guess we'll see. Other things in the news, though.
A double whammy.
I know, a double whammy. Why not? I should have done it in the intro, but faster intros are better for YouTube's algorithm, so go argue with that, I say. Next piece of news, though, is Monolith, the developer, the dudes that did Shadow of Mordor and Shadow of War. We know that they're working on a Wonder Woman game. They put an official teaser out, I think a couple of years ago now.
Yeah, it was the Video Game Awards, wasn't it?
Yeah, so we know that they're working on a Wonder Woman game. Apparently that's going to be a live service title, or it's rumored to be a live service title, based on a write-up over on WCCF Tech, who noticed a job listing for Monolith mentioning live service as something, as an expertise thing, something that would be beneficial for their hiring for this new person, someone who knew how live service stuff had worked in the past. This comes after Warner Brothers CEO David Zaslav saying that he wants all their properties going forward.
Zaslav!
Yet again, he wants all their stuff to be live service going forward. And I want to roll in here the way that the way Mortal Kombat has been treated since launch, because Mortal Kombat 1, and I said this before launch, Mortal Kombat is like their only IP that has genuine love invested in it. It's not that other things aren't positively received at all, but the MK fandom, of which I'm one of them, are just, oh my god, Mortal Kombat, I'll snatch it up, I'll buy it, I'll do whatever. And that's always ripe for over-monetization on the business side. And we're seeing that across the board. Like, Mortal Kombat now has paid fatalities. There was a $10 Halloween fatality. They're now giving away the Thanksgiving fatality and the Winter fatality as part of that pack if you bought in the first place. But that only came after the backlash to how much they were charging for that initial fatality. Also, the skins that have been included since that are very much fan-focused skins, like Deadly Alliance skins and Mortal Kombat Deception skins, they're also $10 each. So, like, if you want to dress Scorpion up like he was in Deadly Alliance, one of the coolest Mortal Kombats ever, you got to pay the $10. And now they've released a Sub-Zero Deadly Alliance skin, which is also $10.
Pay the troll toll.
And so it's literally just like, let's monetize every single thing. And there's also on the fan side people talking about how the grind feels longer, how the grind itself was quite elongated anyway when it comes to the invasion mode and what you're using your gold coins to unlock, etc. I feel like the WB Talon's Court of Owls itself are very much in every one of these games, and MK feels like something that is being specifically exploited because of the positive fan reception. I don't feel like the general conversation around Mortal Kombat is anywhere near the likes of Suicide Squad or whatever. And so I guess thoughts on that. It's something I'm noticing.
Yeah, it's kind of like we've spoken a lot about it recently on videos like this, and also in podcasts talking about, Warner Brothers kind of really flying the flag for bad video gameness at the minute. Yep. Again, Zaslav, really annoying. But yeah, the Wonder Woman game, Monolith is such a talented studio. We as much as everyone really disliked Shadow of War for its money grubby monetization practices, when Shadow of Mordor came out, that was like a huge kind of like almost lightning bolt surprise license success story.
Game of the year.
We were all very impressed by that game, and they should be a natural fit for Wonder Woman. Lots of really cool high fantasy stuff in that mythos, lots of really cool stuff you could achieve there. As with anything, I just hope that it makes sense in the context of the game they set out to do, and this isn't kind of going to be a really protracted. It's just frustrating because I really like Shadow of Mordor as Wonder Woman. That's inherently a cool premise.
Yes.
On Themyscira, go to the different Greek realms or whatever. That's a really cool idea.
Using your lasso of truth to make people go on your side or whatever it is.
But if I have to, I'm using the lasso of truth on Ezra Miller to do a really cringe scene or something, I don't know. I don't want that. But if I have to pay like 10 buckaroos because I want to, say for instance, I want to have an emote where I can do the TV show spinny thing.
Right.
I'm going to be really annoyed.
You got to pay for that thing that always comes in every single time.
That was a moment. That was like 7 years ago, man.
They keep trotting it out. It was in the Flash again. But yeah, that's the thing. This keeps happening to the most talented studios under their wing. What we mentioned on the What Culture Gaming podcast, which you should go subscribe to, the way that Warner Brothers Montreal, their own smaller studio, has been treated over the last few years. They have had multiple games cancelled. And just in general, like you look at Rocksteady, you look at clearly Suicide Squad Kill the Justice League, at least from my point of view, is not what they wanted to make overall. There are parts of it where you can see the Rocksteady talent coming through. But it's also, you can throw in Monolith. Like you said, Shadow of Mordor was incredible. And the best parts about Shadow of War had nothing to do with the over-monetization of it. It was always the orc loot boxes. It was that stuff that was horrible. And they did remove it. It is worth like a public service announcement that Shadow of War now is awesome. Like they removed all the heavy monetization stuff, the predatory stuff. You can just go play that sequel and it's awesome. The tech that's in there, the Nemesis system is great. It just took them like 6 months of trying to fleece everybody before.
To get rid of all that poison grog.
Yeah, stop rubbing his hands trying to make you pay for stuff. Before they finally removed that stuff. But you can just see it. I feel like you can nakedly see it. Warner Brothers right now are ostensibly, I was going to say public enemy number one, artist enemy number one. And that stuff has trickled into various projects over the years. And right now, it seems to be happening with the Wonder Woman game that's in production. And I would say it's happening with Mortal Kombat. But yeah, hopefully things get better over time. I guess we'll see. I'll leave a video right here that celebrates something nice just for you, because I've been Scott from WhatCulture.com.
And I've been Ewan from WhatCulture.com.
And we'll catch you next time.
Size Live!